So the world has really changed with all the technology, and people are in their phones all the time. And we are talking about how communication is is so terrible now. What do you see as the difference in communication between the way people were before and the way they are now? Like I noticed people don't look each other in the eye as much. They don't joke around with strangers like they used to. There's no fun chit chat in grocery lines. There's no chit chat anymore with strangers. What have you noticed?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the whole world has changed completely. It's not my world at all. The world I grew up in, you had one skeleton key and the whole town had the same key. Really didn't make any difference if you locked your door or you didn't lock your door. And that's
Wait a minute. Everyone had the same key.
uh
Why have a key for people outside of the town?
well, you felt as if you were locking your house up, but you didn't know why. 90% of the time you didn't.
And is it because there was just one lock pattern and the locksmith didn't want to make individual locks?
Everybody trusted everybody. They didn't feel the need of a key. We didn't have drugs. Uh, the biggest drug we would have would be alcohol. And during the Depression, it was bad because you had what we call bums come to the door and want food. And in the cold, cold weather, my mom sometimes left them in the hallway and gave them food. And there was those kind of things you had to contend with. But they weren't people that were dishonest. They were just out of a job and nobody could get a job. So they rode the railroad and they jumped on the trains and that's how they got around.
Kind of like
And
the
they were called
buses,
bums.
kind of like the Max train today.
Yeah.
But so, what about fun? Like, what did teenagers do for fun?
Well, it depends what time of year it was. For a small town, it was called a city because there was 5,000 people, but it was considered a small city. So everybody sort of knew everybody. Even in a small city, there's competition. And went to King Street School, and this was supposed to be like Lake Oswego, and the others went to Connaught School, and that was sort of the who would compare it with
Like a working class.
the working class people. And so we had the competition. Even in school, we had the competition. But I don't know, as we grew older,
What kind of sports would they do? Football, or in Canada, what do they do?
hockey and swimming. We Dad had inherited a lot of money in 1928 during the Depression, and so he owned over half a block. And at the corner was the doctor. The next was Dad's bungalow. The next was our huge house. The next was Dad's bungalow. And then the next was a pathway so the kids could take a shortcut to school. And then there was a hospital, a small, not a big hospital, just a small hospital at the corner.
But the competition, you're saying,
And the,
related to the kids
the
in the
well,
community?
you'd like to think everything was wonderful then, but in the fifth grade, I was bullied so much by Hazel Dean and Burl Coburn that they'd pull the ribbon in my hair and they would make fun of the clothes I had on because we could have clothes that nobody else could because Dad had so much money. And so I came from a family of six then and a twin sister. And I never told anybody in my family that I was being bullied because I said if I told Mom, she'd say you deserve it. And most of the time I was sticking up for her. And so when I came to the year end, I was an honor student. I had no problem at school at all. And when I came to the final exam, if you didn't pass, you failed and had to repeat your grade. And so I thought, okay, and I figured it all out myself. I'll just fail, and then I'll get rid of them, and I'll stay in this class, and they can go on ahead, which I did. And they did. And the teacher said, how in the world could I fail you when you're an honor student? She said, there's something more to this than just the exam. But I wouldn't tell her. I wouldn't tell anyone. I wouldn't even tell my twin sister. I figured it out myself. And they went on their way and I was fine. But I feel for kids that are bullied because a lot of kids can't handle it. They just can't take it at all. But I had grown up tough because my mother never wanted me. And so you had to hate the world or hate your mom. But I never took that. I call it sinking or swimming. And I decided to swim. And so.
Because you wanted to be happy.
Yeah. So in spite of what they said, I could sort of laugh it off and I paid no attention. But those two were terrible, just horrible. So
they were probably very unhappy people and taking it out on you. You probably made them jealous. They probably felt jealous.
Well, it's just like a lot of bullies. As long as they feel they're usually, I would say they're usually kids that don't have much confidence at all. And so if they feel that they can knock somebody down and be lower than them, that's their pleasure. And that's what they love. So if you let them do it, they'll do it.
Right.
But I got rid of them. But my advice today would be, don't let them do it. Get rough. Get tough if you have to. If it's a boy to a boy, let them have it.
Yeah.
And then you'd be surprised how fast they'd run.
Yes. Bullies a lot of times don't have any courage really to stand up.
No, the bullies, they're usually sissies.
Yeah. Okay.